Now, and we're live.
Good.
Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Thank you for coming and spending the day with us. I am here with Gill. Gill, how are you today?
I'm really well. If there's a background noise at all, everyone, I'm in a conservatory and the heavens have decided to open, which is always good when you want to go live, isn't it? But at least I have nice light.
Because we've had no rain. It was 43 today and we lost power. So I'm actually at my parents' house. We packed the kids up, come to my parents just so that I could do the live because we've got no power and it's so hot.
Yeah, that is a little bit warmer than I would like, I have to say. I'm not great with heat, so I can cope without that.
Horrible, absolutely horrible. So that's why my hair's not done. I've just gone natural because it was a quick panic, pack what we could, come to mum and dad's. So anyway, we're here. That's the main thing.
I wouldn't have known that your hair wasn't done, darling. So don't you worry about it.
Thank you. Well, we've got lots of people in saying hello. We'll just do a quick click through. I hope everyone's doing well. Oh, thank you, Crafty I Am. You're very sweet. Very rarely will I have my hair curly. It's normally straightened, but after today, I just couldn't do it. Okay, so what we might do, we've got everyone coming in quick and fast. So you're going to have to bear with me tonight because this is the first time I've had to deal with 3 screens. And poor Jill was like, I know it can be done. And I was clicking all the buttons and I couldn't work it out. But so bear with me. We'll get it sorted. But you'll be able to see Jill. If I'm not in the screen, I can still hear you. But Jill, I'll keep reading the comments to you as well throughout. So are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go, darling. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Okay, now let's go.
I'm going to show. This isn't finished by any means, but this is sort of where we're aiming for in the finished piece. So nothing here is stuck down because I'm intending using all of these elements, but I had to play to make sure I liked what I was doing before going live because I'm definitely a control freak and really definitely need to know where I'm going when I'm doing things. I'm using products from Vagabond in Japan, from Lady Vagabond Lifestyle. I've got a Sleeping Beauty mold with the fairies in it, and I've got a Celebrations mold for the little roses. So
you've got a bit of everything on there. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's really important that you use your products and that actually you're happy to mix and match things between different ranges. I mean, you do have to choose selectively, of course, but the ranges do work beautifully together. And so it seems to me to be sensible to not have them consigned to only one genre or one paper pack because that's A, wasteful, B, expensive, and there's only so much room a girl can have in a house, even if I do have a huge conservatory. So I've got the Lady Vagabond cobblestone stencil, and I'm starting out with the mixed media modelling paste white, which is K3P38W, and so I've taken that, and I'm just going to pop that through. There are some drying steps on this, and I'm deliberately choosing to create a line across the middle of my canvas, about a third of the way up. There's quite a lot talked about sort of people seeing things in thirds and focal images being on the intersections of thirds. And for me, a third line breaks up the image into nice areas to give me some balance and place to rest my elements. So the modeling paste life is a beautiful texture to do, and it doesn't need to line up precisely because lots of it's going to be covered, but I do want the cobblestones across most of it, if not all of it. So there we are. And that can now go into a bucket of water on the floor. So that gives me a ground. No, I won't slip on it. It's far enough away from me not to be a problem. And then I have the beautiful Vagabond in Japan stencil with the writing and the peonies. And I'm hoping I've got this round the right way, because having taken it out of the packet, it could be in any, back to front. But as I don't speak Chinese or Japanese, I have no clue whatsoever.
I'm pretty sure that is the right way, because I know when I hang my stencils up, the hook goes that way. That's how I know it's the right way.
Yeah, that was sort of how I worked out that it had to be that way, certainly for the text. And I'm just going to add some layers of text here, and I'm multi-layering some of my stencils, so I'm not so worried if it's not completely even or accurate, because all I'm doing is trying to build up a textured background, which will then show through the sprays I'm intending popping on the top. At some point there will need to be some of that pesky drying, because actually there's a limit to how many pieces you can layer without it all merging together. So I've added a set of 3 of those, again coming back to that sort of visual triangle, groups of 3 being pleasing to the eye. And I've then picked up the bamboo stencil, and I'm going to add some of that as well. I love it. I think it's such a useful stencil to have. So I'm just going to add some patches of this across my piece, and I'm going to break the rule of thirds here, because I'm going to add some other pieces to the rest of it. So at this point I really will need to get the heat gun out and give that a dry, because the next layer needs to go on top of that. In fact, hang on, it will need to be dried, so bear with me while I make an awful noise with my heat gun, which isn't one of the super duper quiet ones, but
actually it's not too bad.
I'm glad to hear it. I mean, the modelling paste from Stamperia dries really quickly.
Yes, it does.
Which is a real blessing when you're doing lives or multiplying. And for those of you that are used to seeing me do lives, you might or might not have noticed that I've got what I call silly telly nails on, because I was on a UK shopping channel demonstrating earlier on in the week, and they wanted neatly manicured neutral nails. What mixed media artist has neatly manicured neutral colouring nails?
Is that what they told you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So I now have a set of it's gel nail polish, which will then have to get taken off. But
yes.
But it makes my fingers feel thick and clumpy. I don't know how people work with it, but each to their own, because plenty of people do, don't they?
They do. I usually get the gel shellac, only because with the amount of mixed media I do, it stops my nails from chipping. So it makes them that little bit stronger. Otherwise, they'd be breaking all the time, my natural nails. So I normally get it done. But over Christmas, I took it all off and thought I'd have a break. Let my nails breathe a bit.
Yeah. Well, my natural nails don't tend to break, so I'm fortunate there. But if I put ordinary nail polish on, you can guarantee it'll be chipped within about 30 seconds. Because who has an hour to wait for it to dry? Too short, isn't it? So there we are.
We've got so many people are popping in to say hello. So thank you to everyone for being with us today, tonight, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in the world. So thank you.
So now I'm going to add some of the I think they're probably peonies, which I know isn't a tree to hang down, but with a bit of artistic license, it's going to be cherry blossoms, and they do hang down, and they're very typical for Japan, aren't they? Especially in the springtime. I know that
cherry blossoms.
I know because I've got this layered over some stenciling already, it might blur a bit, but again, I'm not worried. Life's too short to stress about these things, isn't it? Really? So there we are. And that completes the stenciling. So I'm going to leave that a little bit to dry and start adding some colour at the bottom. And then we might need to get the heat gun out again, get the next bit. Okay, so before that dries up, because unlike you, it's freezing over here and I've had to put the heater on in the conservatory and I don't need my paste to be drying out.
So I've been a little bit quiet the last couple of weeks because I've been trying to create a few projects, and because it's been so hot, the other day I opened my Allegro paint and it exploded on me. So it shot and I couldn't stop it. It just kept oozing and it went I was devastated. But that's how hot it is here. It's just crazy.
Oh, and not only a waste of paint and an absolute mess to then have to sort out as well.
Yes. So all you could hear was blood-curdling screams from my studio as I'm trying to stop it from keep coming out. But anyway.
I would have been with you on that one. So I'm going to start by colouring the cobblestone areas. And I've chosen a paint that I haven't got a clue what its name is in English. But in Italian, it's called Militare Chiaro, KAL 105. So it's sort of a greeny, beigey, nondescript, sort of muddy colour. But it works for and I'm going to layer again anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it's quite a useful neutral colour. It's neither green nor brown. And I am going to add some brown over the top anyway. So, but this is, as I say, it's all about the layering, because why not? You've got lots of products, then it seems to make sense to use them as much as you can in as many different ways as you can.
That's it. I love being able to use my products more than one time. So I like to try and push the boundaries to see how many different ways I can use the one product.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I decided that I was going to I'd got a whole mountain of Vagabond in Japan's papers and things on the go, and all oddments of things rather than, I mean, quite big oddments, I would have to say, but not. So I'd before thinking about the live, I'd made myself a really different mix, sort of album with using up lots of bits, just playing and experimenting. And as I was doing it, thinking, right, I must make sure I keep some focal images for a canvas. So bit by bit over the next week or so, I'm going to be posting the pages from the album individually. And at some point I will post it all as a whole piece, because it's got a really novel binding mechanism. So it means I can take out the pieces on inside, if I want to swap things out, add pages, take them out, do what I want. So if we're having struggles with things drying, I'll grab that because it's on the side, and we can go through with that. But once we've got the canvas made, it's not such the base paste made, it's not such a problem. But I don't think you can make a mixed media piece and not have bits that need drying, unless of course you've got 20 canvases on the go and then have to think about how you're going to use them up afterwards.
Or you can just move to Australia, and by the time you finish stenciling, the paste is dry.
Yeah. In the summer in the conservatory, that would be where I do most of my crafting. Yeah. That would certainly be the case. It dries really warm because the conservatory is like a greenhouse, really. But in the winter, no, it's far too cold to do that. The heat gun has to come out. But
you get amazing light though being in there.
Oh, fabulous light. And that's why I choose to work out here. And I definitely do my lives from in here, because it is the light in the house is much more yellow based. It's I've still got some of the older light bulbs, and the house is all the walls are painted in darker, muted colours. So the whole, the rooms are quite dark. Very restful in the evening, but not great for filming alive with. So that'll do that, because it doesn't have to be perfect. So that sort of a ground isn't one colour, and much as I like the green as a useful colour, I didn't want it to stay like that. I wanted to add some shades. So I've just grabbed the walnut aqua colour.
I love this colour.
Which is KE34C. And all I'm going to do is add some of this. I've just popped it into a tray to minimise the chances of me spelling stuff every which way, which is perfectly capable of doing. And it also helps, settle in the texture of the canvas around the lines that are there. And oops, that paint's still wet, but never mind. And it just adds, some areas of texture. And obviously, if you have it properly dry before you try adding paint and stuff on top of it, it helps. So that's going to go there, and that can sit and dry whilst we do the next bit. So I'm going to add some colours to the sky, and I have chosen the Azurio aqua colour KAQ002, the Verde aqua, which is KAQ003, and graphite, which is KAQ017. And I've got some of the white. Well, I did have some of the white lurking somewhere. There it is. That I may well add in as well, which is KAQ019. And this has got a little bit of shimmer in it, so that when you use it, you move it in the light, it probably won't show up very well. And that I've left in its bottle. And all I'm going to do literally is just add splodges. This is no technique required, because life is too short to spend all day painting.
That's the beauty with mixed media, isn't it? There's no right or wrong way. It's just however it flows, and it works out in the end.
Well, absolutely. And I'm wanting the colours to blend anyway. So and you can never ever make two pieces the same, like doing things this way. It's just not possible to do that
in my classes all the time, because the lady is always like, it doesn't look like yours. And I always say to them, even if I recreated the same project, it would never ever look the same. Never. There'd be something different, because you just can't seem to recreate some things, like your backgrounds, to be exactly the same. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It makes it unique. I think it's great.
I think people need to remember to be kind to themselves as well. Yes. Just because I put something where I've put it doesn't mean that that's where it's right for you. And actually, you don't have to just create something that's for one, just because in a set way. It has to be about what works for you. And I'm now going to add some areas whilst the paint is still wet. So I've got some darker areas coming around, and I'm focusing that predominantly on the edge, but I am mixing it, sort of into the other colours, which are still wet on my piece. And I want sort of a baseline, so I am going to pop again some more of that dark down there, and feather it up a little bit, so that I've got a boundary between, more boundary between the two. There we are. So, and again, if you're not happy, go back in, add a bit more colour, mix it up a bit, blur the edges. So I've got, by doing it this way, I've got no hard boundaries between anything, but my stenciling is still visible. It might not be so obvious at a distance. Let me move it up and see. Yeah. So when you're closer up, the modelling paste almost resists the aqua colours, so that you've then got that relief element all showing. So it really does make for a very pretty background. So
just
one more.
quickly, I've got one of the ladies on here asking if any stores in the UK has the aquacolor leather spray in stock. If you're a store and you've got it in stock, just pop it in the comments so that everyone can see. Sorry, Jill. I just wanted to pop that in.
I think the store that's most likely to have it in stock will be Dally Art Market, who were the original UK suppliers of Stamperia. But whether she has or not, because I know she's been sort of selling off a lot of her stock at the moment, because she's about to move premises and decided it was easier to try and sell some stock off than have to pack it all up.
Move it. Good thinking.
I know that That's Crafty don't have the aqua colours in stock. And it's possible that if someone messaged Denise at I Love Mixed Media, she would be able to order it in for them if it's in stock with Stamperia. And she's quite good at doing that. So those are the UK, those are your best bets if you're in the UK, I think.
And Neska's just said those 3 stores, she said the exact same. So ladies in the UK, if you're after anything, go to those stores and buy your Stamperia products.
And the other shop that I know is predominantly online and may or may not have them because I don't use it for most of my ordering, is an online company called Charm Cards and Crafts. They will, they may have it in their stock as well, but I haven't looked at them for a long time. So I just need to get these colours dry.
Well, Jill, everyone's loving what you're doing so far. Just so that you know. They love the colours, they love the techniques. At the moment, everyone's just putting in their little input onto where to buy the stuff. So sell. That's what we want, everyone.
Well, Stamperia sell via the UK, one of the UK craft channels, but they only ever have the stuff in stock for the show that they're going to be promoting. That so you have to get used to shopping around. Though to be fair, all of the companies are pretty reliable when it comes to getting stuff and for shipping as soon as they get it in. There we are. So that can sit over there. And it's quite difficult here, I think, to see really the texture of the cobblestones, even though fake close up, again, I can see the detail. Yeah, I'm actually going to take a sanding block and just rub that, which is why I wanted it to be a bit drier, because it'll take the colour off the top, just where that where the texture is for the cobblestones. There we are. So that just, it just makes it even, easier to see and adds another layer to the piece. So that is a background that I'm just going to pop away out of the way to do the next set pieces, which is to decorate my resin pieces, some of them which I've already decorated, but some of which I haven't. So let me just pop these over here. So I've got a collection of the flowers from the two molds, and these were cast in resin. Yep. And I've covered them with the white gesso from Stamperia, which would be K3P08N. And then I have added some of the Bianco latte. So it's not a she says throwing paint every which way. Let me lift that up, because I didn't really want blue flowers,
So you've pretty much just done a me.
Yeah, Well,
Yep,
you know,
it's
it's
just
all
gone
adds to the
everywhere.
fun of yeah, you
You know,
know,
you could
why
still
not?
use those baby whites onto another canvas to put the
Oh,
paint off the baby whites.
absolutely. I have actually just got a cloth I can reuse. Right, well, let's see if we can rescue some of these pieces, because blue was not quite the colour that I'd intended going for, because it won't matter, it'll work, but it wasn't quite the colour that was the intention. But there you are. That's going to be painted over. That one might have to stay with that hint of blue on it. It'll work with the blue of the background, so why stress about it? That's because I was trying to paint out into a mat. I should not be neat and tidy. I should just stick that over there out of harm's way before I slosh more of that everywhere, because I can see what will happen.
Tidy and mix media. I don't understand that.
Wow, I don't normally throw paint and medium over everything I don't want. You know, typical on a live. Why not? You know, just add to it. So let me just splodge some of this white paint over here. See if I can.
I love
Eh, dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, because it's going to be a multi-layered, it's really not going to matter. It'll just add to some of the shading. Blue cherry blossoms, a novel concept, I think, but there we are. I think by the time I put all the layers,
blue cherry blossoms.
We will see at the end of this whether it's nice or whether it's not.
If it's a nay or a yay.
Yeah, let me just, I might just mute that blue down on that one that's already pre-coloured. There we are. Wasn't quite what we intended, but hey ho. You know, again, it just adds, doesn't it? And it just shows that actually it doesn't matter. You can make a mistake and you can just cover it over. That's the joy of paint, isn't it?
Fix your mistakes with gesso, black or white.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to cover this little lot in this white as a base, and it will neutralize things for me.
I'm just going to quickly. So Tina, you just asked suppliers of aquacolor in Australia. And finding the Allegra paints. So I know for a fact that Scrap with Friends in New South Wales sell the paints, and I'm pretty sure they sell the aquacolor. Also here in WA, there is Cobwebs Craft Studio. Now, Charmaine, I know, has paints. The aquacolor sprays, I'm not 100% sure. So you can check out those two. And I thought there was another store that might sell them. I don't know if Craft Online sell them actually, the Stamperia Allegro paints, but I know definitely those two stores. And I will see if I can find their websites for you and pop it in the comments.
Cool. I mean, they don't have any nasty solvents in them, so hopefully you can get them. I know the Australian government won't let you import anything with a solvent in it, will it? So,
please, it is an absolute nightmare. It's horrible.
But the aquacolors don't have any solvents, so they shouldn't fall foul of that rule. Yeah.
I'm just on my phone now trying to find the website because I'm scared if I do it on my laptop, I might lose you.
Well, it'll just add to the fun of life, isn't it? So Luciana yesterday were doing her live, custom mixed her paint, and I think there was quite a lot of chatter. It's just because of paint, there's only so many colour ranges that Stamperia have, doesn't mean that you are stuck with just using those paint colours. You can custom mix. So I've got some Indian turquoise KAL 109 and some light green KAL 32. And
I just ordered some of that green, so I'm interested to see the colour because I love the look of it, but I haven't seen it being used.
So I'm going to colour mix mine just to be difficult, but hang on a minute. Let me, if I grab a sensible size brush that will allow me to use it. So if I just paint some of these leaves, so there's leaves on this mold that haven't got contaminated, that is the green straight from.
Oh, yes, that's
So
nice.
it's a really vibrant green, and I just felt it was just a little bit too bright
Yes.
for the sort of more muted down colours that were in the papers. So I chose to mix the two together to get some blending, and you can see that the blues become more it's become more bluey green rather than yellow green by doing that. Yeah, because I felt that worked just a little bit better for me. But ultimately, it's how you see things, isn't it, that's important, not necessarily how I see it that matters. So those are, is that a leaf? That's a leaf, because I've added an extra layer of paint. It's a bit thick and blobby, so there we are. So that's meant to be a leaf. There we are. Let me rescue the one that I covered all in blue. Why
It'll
not?
just have a darker blue undertone, which could be quite nice with the green.
Yes, it's not going to be a problem, I think, because of adding the blue into it, but wasn't quite what we intended.
The joys of live television.
I know, and I'm now getting paint every which way that I don't want it, because I got mucky sticky fingers, because again, that's what you do, isn't it? And then the rose blossoms, I have or the cherry petals have a pink tone, so I've got the ancient pink here, because it's more pink than the dull pink, which is a more skin tony colour.
Yep.
Yeah, the two are very quite different shades. So I've gone for the ancient pink because I think it is pinker than the other one. And let's just see if we can rescue this. The problem with the aqua colours is because they are aqua colours, they tend to respond and react with the water, so in the paint, so they still end up coming through. There you are. That's better. That doesn't look quite so blue now. And I've mixed, again, I'm mixing my colours actually on the piece, so it's not just a straight from the pot, because again, the cherry blossoms have a mix of the two, rather, they're more white at the edges than they are at the centres. Let's see if we can do this. So there we are. You can see I'm really precise. A small brush does make it easy. I am trying to keep to the petals themselves rather than it all being just thrown on any which way. Not having paint on my hands would help, but there you are. And again, if I, at home, I'd do one layer, I'd walk away from it, I would let the next layer dry down before picking up the next piece. I wouldn't dream of going from the green to the pink without giving it some drying time in between, because you're guaranteed to muddy and mix your colours by doing that with whatever you do.
I think too, I think everyone understands for the live, you don't have the luxury of letting it dry naturally and coming back. So when we think we're drying to kind of hurry the process, and sometimes things aren't 100% dry. But I think it's great that we can see, though, what you're doing, and we understand that it's going to take time to dry completely, but it will still work.
It absolutely will still work. I mean, the thing with the forced drying is that you end up with stuff dry on the surface, but not dry underneath. So when you start adding your next layer, they merge together, which doesn't help matters. When in terms of, let me just rescue this. When you're trying to layer stuff up, it's sort of, it just doesn't. You mix your layers up, but you're right. It is the joy of working on a live. which is why some of these pieces were pre-prepared, and where I'm now going to have to dry some of them because I need them all for my for the things. And then for the stamens in the middle, I've picked gold sand, KAL 5160, which is a soft creamy yellow rather than a vibrant bright yellow, because there's really no neon colours in the paper section at all. They've all got a sort of a grey black undertone, so adding a neon colour at this point to the centre of the sorry for my head hitting the camera there, you know, in the centre of the flowers isn't going to work. And even on this piece here, I can add just by scraping over the centre to add those, and I'll add a little bit of yellow in the centre of that flower, which I think is probably a peony rather than anything else. So I'm going to dry these because I want to add some of the antiquing wax to it, and I definitely need these to be dry before I can go near that.
Oh, the waxes, man. And again, Australian government just, unless you get it by ship, we can't get it. But I did actually thought I saw a comment. I was looking for it before. So there's a store here in WA for the love of scrap in Joondalup. So any WA viewers, Tina says that she was able to get some from there. So I might have to make a trip up there and see if I can get my hands on some.
Can you get oil paints? Farrel?
Yes, like the stores have them. Well, I've got the antiquing paste, which is pretty much like an oil paint. It's weird. It's like some items we can get, and then the government kind of decides to go, I think we're giving the people too much fun. Let's can that and then find something else. It's weird.
Well, why?
Because sometimes you can get it on the whim, other times you can't. But I know the waxes, I've been itching to get my hands on them, and I'm going to the States in a couple of months. So I'm hoping someone may bring some in their luggage so then I can bring it home.
I'll say it for him. Antoinette, if you're watching, you need to take the waxes with you.
Well, it would be him or Giovanni, maybe. I don't know. Anyone from the team that's going to be at Creativation, feel free to just one of each colour would be, except for I've got white, but you can bring all the other colours for me. I'd be so appreciative of it.
Well, it would be helpful, really, wouldn't it, for you?
Yeah. So sorry, one of my Jans, she's just got hint, hey, Farrel. Yes, it is a hint. I thought try and be subtle about it, but yes, please bring some over.
No, they're men, Farrel. No point in being subtle. No point at all in being subtle. Say it how it is. Okay. You're far more likely to get what you want.
Oh, we're never going to be able to do a live together again. They're going to ban us, Jill, because they're going to think we're ganging up on them.
Quite possibly. So if this is my sample piece, okay, and but I'm going to bring this up here just to explain why I'm going to make the next step. I'm just going to clear that lot before I have bright green, lime green paint over everything. I don't want bright green, lime green paint all over.
Yes, learn from last time, Jill.
Yeah, it's a sign of intelligence, I'm told, is that you learn, but somehow or other we don't, because guess what? I have managed to get lime green paint on my black pagoda.
And
there we are. You
could always, at least with black, you can paint over it. But
yeah, it's already waxed though, and the wax won't go over the top of it. So I've got my background here, which with the graphite and the browns is a more vintage styled colour palette. And if I just pop these on like this, they look exactly as I've just plonked them on top. Here we are. Let's move them up. Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? So to me, that doesn't sort of work. Doesn't become cohesive with the browns that are in the geisha girls' costumes and the greys there. But if I put an antiques piece on, if I put the two side by side,
Yeah.
you can see the difference just adding the antique paste will make. Does that make sense? So that's why I've done what I've done, because it's to try and blend my layers together. Right, let's just have a tidy up of the hands. Not that they're going to stay tidy for very long with a bucket load of antiquing paste coming out, but hey ho.
Make sure all your paints have got their lids on, just in case.
They are all sealed.
Excellent.
They are all
Everyone
sealed.
is saying looks beautiful, looks gorgeous. So that everyone's loving what you're doing at the moment.
I just, for me, mixed media is about adding the layers, making the layers look as if they're bonded together, but not exactly the same. So having the correct tonal palette for each layer is really quite important. So all I've got is some of the fantastic vintage antiquing paste. And this, surprisingly, is my first tube. Now, I know that might come as a surprise to people.
Actually,
but it is my first tube. It goes a long way.
So I'm still on my first tube, but it's now getting towards I'm squeezing the crap out of it to get the paste out. So I think it might be time for me to get another, but I'm a little bit sentimental. I don't want to get rid of it. It's my first one.
Well, I've got another tube sitting on the side because as a thank you for the lives that I was doing before Christmas, I got a very big box of goodies. And so there was a new tube of the antiquing paste in it, which was very lovely.
Well, Aneska's just said she started tube number 4.
I know. She and I talk regularly online, but she is definitely the queen of the vintage antiquing paste. But she uses it on a lot of projects, not just the Stamperia ones.
Definitely put me to shame, so I'm going to have to up my ante. I'm going to pull my socks up, I think. Samantha's, she's on her second after a year. Yep, I'm definitely lagging in the vintage paste.
It sounds a bit like you might be slacking there.
And I put it on everything. I'm sure it's only one tube I've gone through. I don't think it'd be any more.
I know Agnieszka does quite a lot of sort of 3D boxes and things and big panels. So she probably goes through more than the average person. I'm surprised that Sam has only onto her second tube, because she certainly uses it on just about every project I've ever seen her do. Has had that.
I tried to give myself a challenge and do a project that didn't need it, and it was very, very hard. And to me, it felt like it was unfinished because I've relied on it so much that now, out of habit, I grab it to finish my projects. So damn you, Andonis, damn you.
And I probably. I mean, I have Antonis and Vasilis Kontos to thank for my love of using the antiquing paste, but I have to say I use it selectively. It doesn't go on everything. I mean, I do quite a lot of paper-based journals and things, and I often use it on the resin pieces to help bring out the textures and to mute back the colours. But I tend not to do pieces these days where I cover everything and then wipe back, the whole project, which is probably why I don't use it in quite the same amounts as lots of people will do. So there we are. We're going to have to tidy this mess because the splatters from that have gone every which way, which is what you'd expect, isn't it? And all I've got, for those ladies that aren't used to doing this, is a wet baby wipe, but and you can pull back as much as you want or as little as you want. It's, you don't have to have it very dark. Yeah, I mean, I love it because it just allows you to see all of the different textures. But otherwise, sort of get a bit lost in amongst some of these. When you're painting, I think sometimes you lose the depth of the and all of the petal definition of things, and the molds are so detailed. It seems a pity to me not to capitalize and and show all of those layers. And I'm, because I've added the oil to it, and I don't think these were completely dry, I'm actually taking off some of the top layers of paint at the same time, and that's fine because, as I say, the cherry blossoms are white with pink, so I'm utilizing the characteristics of the natural plants by doing that. If you add one of the liquid glosses, let that dry before adding the antiquing paste, then you don't tend to take the top any of the paint off with it when you're doing this, and that's because it's on a resin base, so the surface is more difficult for stuff to stick to anyway. But whereas on the canvas and paper, it doesn't do that at all. When you lift it off, you just get left with a slightly aged paper pattern. And there we are. Right, I'm going to have to swap to a new one of those. There's only so much paint you can take off with one baby wipe. So you've got all of the details all shown, and you don't lose your colours by doing this. I've still got my greens, I've still got the yellow centres, I've still got the stamens that I wanted to be on display there. Let's just pop that over there and clear this lot up, because it will go every which way. And glues don't tend to set very well when it comes to being on an oil palette base. We pop that glue down in, because that will work when other things won't work so well.
Okay, so we've got a question asking if it's necessary or not to dilute the antiquing paste.
So
yep, you go, Jill.
did. So I did, because it goes further, and it's easier to lift off if you've done that. How much you dilute it is entirely up to you. I just think it's incredibly wasteful to take it straight from the tube and then try to spread it everywhere. And if you do that, I always then end up adding some turpentine or a solvent to my brush and spreading it with that, because otherwise you just need such a lot to cover everything that it's really quite wasteful, and you just don't need to have that much, particularly when you're wiping it back anyway.
Yes. So if you're doing a small project, so I did do a live with Andonis. It was an art journal page, and for the life of me, I could not find my turpentine. So he told me actually during the live that I could still use it because it was such a small area. So I used it, and it actually worked out okay. But normally I don't put it on very, very thick, because when I go to wipe it off, sometimes it's too thick in like your little nooks and crannies, and it's really hard to try and get in there, and then it will take longer for it to completely dry. That's just my personal experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is an oil paint, so left to itself, it takes it might not in Australia, but over here, to get rid of the smell of the oil paint, takes 2 or 3 weeks. So
oh wow,
yeah. So you want to be using as little as possible, unless you want your whole house smelling of oil paint for the next 6 weeks, several weeks. So the other metal embellishments that I've done are the chincoin, which I painted with black gesso, then added anthracite to, and then gold cerantica. It's just a lot softer than the black. It's got that sort of
bring that up a little bit. Your your resin. Yeah, thank you. Just so that everyone can see. Ah, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's just it's just softer with the anthracite than the pure black, which is why I choose it. And then I've added the gold Cerantica. As you can see, I've got a very abused pot here to the surface of that. These three come from the same mold.
Mm-hmm.
So that one's got turquoise Cerantica added to the top of it. This one's got the blue around the edge and the gold on the surface. And this one comes from the scroll mold, if I grab it. So that comes from K3PTA4513. Jesus. And it's here. It's part of this big scroll.
Yes.
And I've literally just filled the central sort of house shape. So it's really quite a thin piece. And I've mixed the black and the anthracite, the gold and the blue on that piece. But that is literally is a question of just paint and wax. So I didn't think. Yeah, so I'll tuck that little lot all over there. How dry are we? Pretty dry.
Pretty dry. Excellent.
Pretty dry. Well, it's always a good thing, isn't it? So when I'm making, I tend to lay out my pieces where I want them before I do anything in place. And so when I was designing this, I knew I wanted to use the Geisha Girl piece, which is cut from the collectibles pad. And then I needed something to ground it to the background. So I've added some little pieces cut from the paper, again from the collectibles, and sometimes from the 12 by 12s paper pieces, just to ground it so she's not completely floating. And I thought, that background's still barer than I'd like it to be, but I didn't want to lose my colours and my texture. So I have raided the clear die cuts, and I've got a clear die cut that I'm going to pop under there. And I will, once I'm happy, I will glue everything down. So he's standing on the ground, and I've got this die cut, the clear die cut here, and he's going to go there. So I can still dominantly see the background behind it, but I've added my details with those pieces of paper and also with those clear die cuts. So I'm going to see if I can get some of these to stick down, which is always a bit of a challenge for the clear die cut. So we'll add a little bit, and I've got the Ultra Forte glue out here.
The best glue in the world.
Because this side is going to be partly covered by paper, I'm stocking it mainly under there, but it dries clear, so actually you could put a lot more underneath it. It wouldn't really matter. So that piece can go there, and I've got these pieces under and over each other rather than just sitting plonked one on top of each other. And I don't know about you, but I really don't like white paper edges. So I've got some ombre patina. Yes. And I think this is my third pot of the ombre patina, ladies. So because this existed long before the antiquing waxes existed.
So I can't get those either.
No, well, I have a feeling it's again, it's a solvent-based product.
Yes.
So that will be partly why. So that can sit
so
there.
I might have to add that onto the list for Giovanni and Adonis.
Yeah.
to bring for me.
Possibly. But just, and you can, because it, again, not so of wet media.
Oh, Jill, we can't hear you.
Maybe some of the distress inks or distress oxides, then actually ultimately that does matter, because you will find that you've got the colour moving underneath. So I'm just going to squidge a bit of that underneath there. So that's over and under. So it's just, so now
really, at this point, it's all about building your layers.
It is, absolutely. It's about building the layers until you're happy. And I sometimes think it's really helpful for when you're showing people what you've done to actually talk through your thought processes, because I think, it's all very well good for me. I know where I'm going with this. I sort of have quite a good idea of the concept, because I've set it all out, but that's not necessarily apparent to other people who are watching. And I think composition is something that actually people often struggle with.
Yes.
So there we are. So if you if you can talk through sort of why you're doing what you're doing, sometimes that's quite a helpful thing to do. So that's my rationale. But I also think it's helpful for people to see how layers build. And there are stopping points along the way, aren't there? Because depending on what you want to do. So you may feel that actually that is all you need on here. To me, that is way too empty.
Yeah.
But and I actually want her tilted. So what can I do to tilt her? Well, I've got this nice chunky big piece of resin that will act as a way of just helping that piece tilt over. So I'm just going to add a big blob of hot glue to that. Now, real time, again, if I wasn't live, I would add a huge chunk of blob of gel medium to here. So she now sits up, and these elements are then all linked together and attached to each other. None of them are floating in free air. Okay, so I have some more. I've got some of the die cuts, and I'm actually choosing to deliberately leave these plain because I like the sort of creamy tone, and it links back to the cream in the background and the cobblestones. So I've got my visual triangle of 3 pieces there. I've got a gap here that I don't like, so I'm going to add that, which is cut from the papers. And I've got a gap here that I'm going to pop that onto. So those to me sit quite comfortably and start to build my layer. So I'm just going to pop some of these pieces in place. And again, I toyed about adding some colour to the chipboard pieces because it takes colour really nicely, but actually wanted the contrast in this point. And they're not stark white. So again, tonally, it works for me. So let me just grab that. So that can sit there. And we can pop some glue onto here. And obviously, if you're making this for yourself, pop as much glue on as you need, but the Ultra Forte glue will hold most things reasonably solidly. There we are. Without you having to stress too greatly about it. And one of the nice things about the collectibles pad, of course, is that, like, for the girl, she's double-sided. So the fact that I've got her tilted doesn't matter, because if you see her from the side, it's all beautifully decorated on the side. So I can carry on. Yes, we'll have Australia down at the bottom because that's where it should be sitting.
Down, way down.
Yeah. So, it probably, most people wouldn't notice if it was up the wrong way, but it would irritate the hell out of me. I can absolutely guarantee that if I got it up the wrong way, I would know what it would be the first thing I see every single time I look at what I'm doing. Okay, so, and let's just turn that so those sort of waves are vaguely in the right direction and they're the right way. So I like to have words on my project. and something that gives something a name and a title, but that almost gets lost tucked down here, and that's where I decided I would add my lucky coin, whatever the Chinese want to call them, and I think there is probably a right and a wrong way, so I'm just going to add that into there, and that can sit there. She's going to sit there, and if I just leave that like that, it's floating in the air. So I'm actually going to add my little the character icon, and that will help bridge that gap quite nicely. So I'm joining all of my pieces together by doing this. That makes sense. Now I think my lady can actually sit down here, so I'm just going to add a little bit of glue down one side for the moment, and I will secure it better after the live, that she can sit up on there like so. There we are. And that means, so here I'm going to think about what else I'm going to add to try to pull my layers together and make them sit better for me. So I wanted another black element, and so the sort of temple seemed to me to work quite nicely. And I've got the turquoise there, and a little bit here. So I'm back to my visual triangle again, that thing that will probably drive everyone mad. And that bridges those pieces between the ground and the background. Okay, and now we have a large number of flowers. And again, I know I want an element up here, which is part of triangle 1. I've got going to add another one here and another piece over here as my third piece. So I've taken one of the little flowers, and that's going to tuck underneath there, so it's just poking out. And then I can add some cardboard, of which there is always a large supply in the house, courtesy of a well-known river. I'm sure most crafters are the same. We've got a bucket load of extra cardboard lurking. So
I actually cut all mine up and I put them in a box, like a container, kind of like a lunch box that I have on my desk, so that, because I can't even remember the last time I bought double-sided foam tape.
Oh, it's such a waste of money, isn't it?
That's right. When you've got ample amount of cardboard that you can just glue on top of each other and build your layers up.
Absolutely. So then I can pop this piece into here. Make sure the words are up the right way is always a good idea. So there's my words in place. So my project has a title, because that's just what makes me happy. So I wanted a third piece, and this is just plonked, doesn't look as if it's part of the project. So by adding, I remove the rest of that wax from the back of there, which will help the gluing process. If I add that onto there, and I'm happy for it to poke off the edge of the canvas. It doesn't need to, just because the edge doesn't mean it has to sit there. And then we're going to add some of these pieces. So and I just need to sort of try and work out vaguely what I did last time, because why would you want to remember these things? There we are. I think that's because I did it like that and that and that and that. And this is just a piece of the resin that I broke up. So I've now got sort of a cascading
it's beautiful
cherry tree coming in from the top, and I've got another piece here. So these pieces then just get glued into place. And I always tend to lay them out first so that I know where I'm going. And as you can see, I'm I've got them at all sorts of different angles, and that way your eye doesn't necessarily notice that you're multiply using the same piece of, or the same shape of resin. Just changing the angles and the directions really does make a difference to how things sit and here. Let's just pop that
I
there.
love the way that you've layered the flowers, how it does look like it's cascading down. I think that's great.
Yeah, I just wanted something to fill that, and I wanted to link it all the way through. And of course, flowers fall off, don't they? So it's not, it's not unreasonable for there to be flowers lower down, because that's what happens. Flowers don't stay on the trees, do they? So I've now got all of those pieces, and I can carry on and I can add an extra one if I want. But for me, I think I've probably got enough tucked into there without needing to add anything extra to it. So we might, because that's sitting there again a bit orphaned, think about adding another piece down here. But I would have a play. It wasn't the original plan, wasn't, but actually I think if I pop that there and that onto there again, that will build quite nicely. But at that point, it's entirely up to you how many you add and how many you don't. I will put on and then I will take away until I'm happy with where I'm up to with my pieces, because that's what makes me happy. So I really do quite like that piece down there. So I'm not. I will add it to that piece. So there we are. We start to build our pieces. There we are. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it, I think, at that, because I think I'm happy with it. I think that sometimes you just need to take the time and play, and maybe over time you'll add more or take more away. I might add a bit more shading, but that's the basics of the project, was to do that. And I definitely will add some darkness around the edges ultimately to frame it. But I tend to use a dark, a black stays on for doing that rather than anything else. So there we are, one project.
Beautiful. So can you just bring that up, Gill, when you're ready, just to do a little close-up for everyone, please?
I can indeed.
Wow.
So the canvas is about 12 inches in diameter, so 30 centimetres. So it's not a small piece. And you can see I've got all of that texture from the stenciling. I've still got, we've got the bamboo, we've got the Chinese characters, we've got the peony branches tucked into here, and we've got all of the layers. And I'm sorry that one of the things with the acetate is that it glares at the camera.
Yes.
It's reflecting off the ceiling, off the lights out the conservatory. But you've got multiple layers here, lots of texture, and these tonally work because of the muted colours in the papers. So there we are. So
beautiful.
I hope that I have shown quite happily that you can combine a very definitely grungy Antonis style paper collection with the Sleeping Beauty and the Celebrations collections if you choose your products wisely, and are happy to work with the colours to build it all together.
I think Stamperia have been very smart, where you can actually mix and match the collections and they all go together. Very rarely will you have a few collections that won't. Where you can't grab a stencil from one collection, some chipboard from another, a mold from another, and put it together. They all just seem to go together. So I think they've done very well with their collections.
But it makes it easy to use as well, doesn't it, when they do link together? So
everyone's saying that your project's gorgeous. They love it. There's lots of hearts. Beautiful. Rachel, hello. I didn't get to say hi before, but she says that it's stunning. Tracy says fabulous project. Sylvia says so beautiful, amazing project. Thank you. It's just, they're all coming in. Everyone's saying thank you and that it's gorgeous. So I think you taught a lot of different techniques today.
I hope so. So this is the album that was the starting point, because I was using up pieces. and this is the one I'm going to post page by page.
Hang on. Let me put you on the full screen. There we go.
Okay, so again, I've got all of the layers. It's the same process. I've got papers, I've got clear die cuts, I've got resin pieces. Yeah, but this is the page I'm going to post later on today.
Wow.
Okay, so it's got a pop up in the middle, and that pops up, but you've got space for a photograph, and this side pops up, and again you've got space for a photograph because that flaps.
That's amazing.
So that is, but that is just such a big project to, it's not one that you could possibly teach during a live. You'd have to do page by page and know that you'd got a whole series of lives to build it through.
Absolutely.
Because each part of it is a project in its own right. So, but again, I think it just shows how all the bits work together.
Yeah, beautiful. And everyone's saying that it's gorgeous too, just so that you know.
Thank you. There we are. You see, I'm still messing.
And tools down.
Tools down. Maybe not. I don't know. No, tools down. You can go too far, but that's fine. There we are. So one project.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Gill. It's been really good watching and learning and having a general chit chat and watching you make a mess. It's been great.
Thank you for that. Yes, I did manage to make an inordinate mess, but my silly telling nails are still intact. Major miracles.
That's when you know you've got skills. When you can walk away and your nails are still in perfect condition.
Oh, well, yes, it is good, isn't it? But I just think that when you're given beautiful products to work with, then it's a joy, isn't it? So I will come back into the live once it's been published. I will answer any questions that are there, and I will. It's getting a bit dark in the conservatory, so I might leave photographing this until tomorrow when the sunlight returns. So I've got better light, but I will photograph it and post the whole project later on.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Gill. It was lovely doing a live with you finally after 12 months. I think I've been doing lives. Not hosting. Hosting's only been a couple of months, but it was nice to finally do a live with you. Thanks for jumping on, being with me, and thank you everyone for jumping on. We do appreciate all of you watching. It means the world to us. So thank you so much, and for your lovely comments as well. So with that said, we will go. Have a enjoy the rest of your weekend, and Stamperia will be back on Monday. So enjoy, have fun, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is around the world for you. And we will see you again later. Bye now. Once I find the button to press, I'm getting there.